Welcome to the Buckhorn Podcast. I'm Martelle, and with me always is Randy. What up, Randy?
What is up?
It is beautiful outside.
It's gorgeous. It's a little... Well, yesterday it was too warm for my liking. But
Really?
today, dude, I'm fat.
I know.
The real feel was 88. Too hot.
It was nice.
Too hot.
So, I said the same thing yesterday. Like, I told Liz, I said, I think that this... Because I have my thyroid issue. I said, I think...
me too.
Is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is.
I think this... having a hyperthyroidism and only having a half a thyroid, it causes you to... You can either have a heat intolerance or a cold intolerance. And last year I had a cold intolerance. Over the winter, I noticed that I wasn't really complaining about the cold weather. Like, it just didn't affect me. Yesterday, after the dance recital and everything, we're sitting outside on a patio at Millstone. It was so good.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm like, man, it is so hot.
I was kind of jealous when I saw your post.
It was good. I had the brisket. I was like, it's so hot. Like, I'm sitting here. I'm uncomfortable. I can't have this summer where I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I love hot weather.
Imagine if you moved to Florida and then that changed for you.
I'd be so mad. I'd be so mad.
I would be so happy. That would be hilarious.
I'd be sitting inside the whole time. Like,
Would you say that would have been a mistake if that would have happened?
No, it'd still be worth it.
Still worth it.
Still worth it. Because I wouldn't have to deal with snow then. Because I definitely
don't get
like
as much snow as we used to.
I know.
It's cold for a long time and it's kind of gloomy and gray, but like if it's going to snow, I want like 5 feet.
I know.
Shut down the state for a day or two.
I'm with you, but when we do get snow,
here.
people they make the mistake of going outside and driving.
No, people make the mistake of not learning how to drive. You get your license here in Ohio, you've got it. 16-year-olds don't know what they're doing, and nobody ever learns how to drive from there.
I know.
And they drive 80 years like idiots.
Well, see, and that's the thing. So I think that when you have your license is a privilege. And I think that at the age of 16, it should be a requirement. Well, one, I think they should move the age to 18. I think you should be on a permit from 16 to 18 before you get your license. That would make sense. You can drive from school to work.
They've kind of gone that way in the later years. Like, they put more stipulations. When we were kids, 16 was you got your license.
You got your license.
Now you can't drive after dark. You can only have so many friends, blah, blah, blah.
So, and I like that. I like that a lot. Because driving, there's so much that goes into driving. And I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had a guy on there that was an MIT professor that is the professor of AI and AI driving. And he was talking about how will they ever get the perfect car that can drive itself, autonomous car that can drive itself? And he's like, no, I don't think it'll ever happen because there's so much that goes into driving. And which got me thinking, there's not that much that goes into it. And then as I'm sitting there mowing, I'm like, oh, I'm looking for this bird. I'm making sure I'm not running over like a toad or a rock. Or like, I'm trying not to kill little baby animals and things. Or you're my kids, yeah. Which then got me thinking as he's talking, like, oh, you're looking for a skateboarder or a guy on a bike, which I would love to hit.
I passed more than 50 cyclists on the way here today.
And you want to hit them all.
I understood your hatred for the party pants people.
Right.
So I was coming up 674 to turn right at Marcy, right? Very dangerous intersection. So on 674, there's a right-of-way. It's a 55-mile-an-hour zone. Of course, everybody's going about 60. I'm approaching, but I'm slowing down to turn. There are 5 cyclists that approach from my left to the stop sign, and there's a car coming the opposite direction towards me. That car's not signaling that it's going to do anything. 4 cyclists stop, and the only person on a tandem, 2 people on a bike, roll through. That car has to jam on its brakes because one of the riders, like the dude in front, was trying to hump it across the road before him, blow the stop sign. He looked. I saw him turn his head. He saw the vehicle.
Yep.
And the person behind obviously was not in the same mindset because they were probably the one to get clipped and almost caused an accident.
Yep.
And I was like, there it is.
Every time.
Totally ignoring the law.
Every time. And they have to stop for the stop sign. Do they? Some of them, yes. The majority of them, no. And so
they made a mistake,
and
that
as
mistake
a driver,
could cost somebody their life.
Right. And as a driver, you have to look out for that stuff.
Right.
So as a 16-year-old to 18-year-old, you have to be able to start processing those things. That's
And
a
reacting.
lot. And react.
Yeah.
That's a lot. A computer could start doing that, but the cameras are not picking up those things to be able to react to those things. They're not picking up the person crossing the street. They are, but they're not seeing it far enough ahead.
Well, yeah, that one that they had driving made a mistake. The AI made a mistake and killed somebody.
It's still under investigation on whether or not it was the AI's fault or the guy who crossed that, and that was part of that conversation.
Well, yeah, and that's regardless of what's controlling the vehicle,
right? And then who's at fault,
right?
You know, was it the AI's fault? Did the guy not,
or did the guy make the mistake?
Did the driver not have his? Well, it's AI, driver, or person crossing the street. It's who it comes down to, because in some of these situations, when you're in the car and it's in autopilot, your hands have to be on the steering wheel. In the Teslas, you don't have to be looking straight ahead. You can be looking wherever you want. You could be looking backwards, but your hands have to be on the steering wheel. Well, now they're starting to come up with hack devices that simulate hands on the steering wheel so that you can take your hands off. In Cadillac, they have a camera on you. If you're not looking straight ahead, within 6 seconds, it warns you.
It ejects you through the roof.
That would be great.
Problem solved.
But the problem is, how often are you looking straight ahead when you're driving? Never. You're looking ahead. You're always looking left. You're looking right. You're scanning.
I'm looking everywhere.
So,
trying to.
Right. So the computer's not seeing that. 6 seconds isn't enough to scan around. You're looking in your rear view mirror. You're looking in your side view mirrors. So the system will never be perfect. So back to the 16-year, 18-year-old thing, there needs to be this period of permit.
Like a ramp-up kind of thing.
So that they learn, so that they get that season, at least here in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, wherever they get snow, Pennsylvania, to learn how to drive in the snow so that they can hit all of those scenarios, how to skid,
Well, it should be statewide, though, because as we heard in what will be last week's episode, countrywide.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about, especially in states up north, but we learned that in Florida, when it rains, it's a little different than up here when it rains.
Well, and that's...
But anyway.
Yeah, anywhere, it should be a... Because, well, so even some states, you can't get your license till you're 18. Like, that's just...
Law.
That's law. Some states, you can start getting your permit at 15, but you can't get your license till 16.
It's real sketchy. I don't know. I don't think it's the law anymore, but when I got my license at 16, my buddy didn't. He waited till he was 18 or maybe 20. He just didn't need them, he said. But then once you hit 18, you didn't have to take a test. You could just go and get your driver's license.
And that's what my sister's friend did.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not here to talk about drivers.
Nope, but we're talking about mistakes.
We are. Before we make a mistake and let this get warm, what do we have here?
So we're going to do a tasting of something that it intrigued me. It is a nitro. It is from Rhinegeist. Out of
Cincy.
Out of Cincinnati. Made in Ohio, so local-ish. It is called Nitro Cobbstopper Peach Cobbler Ale. It is a sour ale with vanilla. So it's a pretty can. I like it. It's very very retro. So this is let's see. We should have a peach and vanilla flavor to it, obviously.
Okay.
The mouthfeel should be medium to light body with a creamy overall taste. It should be complex, fruited, sour ale, complemented by a nitrogen process. So think kind of like Guinnessy, so it's not very...
but it's not dark and thick looking like
No, it's not dark and thick, and let's see, is the APV on here? It is 4.4%.
Okay.
So it's light.
Yeah, it's a normal average kind of...
Yes, summer's coming around, so I was thinking if we're going to do a tasting, we'll do something not so heavy.
Something you can just chill and sip on.
Yeah, so this is a sour. I'm not expecting it to be super sour like the...
It smells just like a citrusy, any other... It's like a summer shandy type smell. It's very light in odor.
Yeah, so...
Or aroma. Ooh. It's got a little bite to it.
It's got a little
sour bite.
little sour to it. It's good.
That's not bad. I like this better than the other sour we tried.
Than the unicorn farts or the blackberry lemon, the platform.
I think both. I like this better than both of them.
I like this better than the platform, definitely. The unicorn farts was super sour, and I like that one a lot. I got one can of that left.
That was definitely more sour than this. This is sour, but it's not make your cheeks pucker sour.
No. I could sit and drink a couple of these.
I'm not a beer guy. I
know
probably want it. This ain't bad.
This
is
not
good.
A bad one. I like it.
For something different. How many donuts you giving this one?
I'll give this one a... We're doing halves, right? We're not doing 3/4?
Yeah, you can do halves.
We're doing halves. I would give this a 3. A 3 out of 5. Definitely.
That's funny. That's the exact number I had in mind.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good, solid choice. I don't know how much it was. That may change my opinion. But you can tell it's well made. It's not something cheap. It's not swill.
No. It was... I think it comes in a pack of 4. I think it was like $10.99 for the 4.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not terrible.
For something like this. Not terrible.
Not terrible.
Yeah, it's not real bad at all.
No, so really good.
Good job, Rhinegeist.
Yeah. I think pretty much everything that they do, I don't think I've had anything bad from them.
Really? I think this is the first thing I've had from them.
Yeah, I've had a couple.
I don't drink.
A lot of their offerings. They do really good heavy stouts.
Really?
They had one called the White Whale, which was $22 a bottle.
Ooh.
But it's the big...
I'm too poor to drink beer.
No. If this...
Get me on some natter days.
No, I got a couple more downstairs.
Oh, you can keep them there.
Yeah. I can't... It's the bigger bottles, like the big 20-ounce bottles.
They're like growler style. Not
Kinda.
style, but that
size. That bigger bottle. I can't remember the size of the bottle.
The 40? It's
bigger,
a 40.
It's even bigger than a 40, I think.
41?
Slightly. It's like 40.5. 40.25.
All right, so...
But yeah, it's good stuff. It was barrel-aged, like 20%. Nice. I mean, it knocked me on my ass. It was good.
Nice.
Super good. So... All right.
Belch.
So we're doing mistakes today. So we talked about a couple mistakes with driving earlier.
Yeah.
And this was... The Peach Cobbler was not a mistake.
No, not a mistake. It's not bad.
No, it's good.
A mistake would be having 50 of them then driving. That'd be a mistake.
A horrible mistake. So...
But yeah, we're talking mistakes, ones we personally made, how we handled them. And then I've kind of got like a 3-step thing of probably how we should handle mistakes, and we'll talk about why we should and why we maybe don't.
Okay.
So I have the first couple of examples that aren't related to us, and then we'll share personal ones. But I found a few, and I've left out a lot of details just for time's sake, so I'm just going to throw out the gist of it. I kind of typed it up. But there was one in a big city where the local police raided a crack house, right?
Ooh, I love crack houses.
So you're talking full-on.
That used to be my jam.
Rubber bullets, bean bags, gas, through the windows, busting all the windows, all the doors, searched and did not find anything remotely suspicious. And then the police realized they had the wrong house. The crack house was one door down. They went to the wrong house, destroyed it, and by the time they realized it, the inhabitants of the real crack house
were gone.
They took off and were unseen. Another one I found, there was a local fire department that did a practice drill.
Did the police do anything to correct that initial, do you know?
I did not go that far into my research.
Okay.
I'm just throwing out some mistakes that are obvious, but then with our personal ones, you and I figure we can share more about how we handled them.
All right.
But the other one, it's similar. I found where a fire department went to a house scheduled for demo, set ablaze, let it get roaring, put it out, and then found the condemned house was a block away. They burnt down somebody's house. And then the owner came home.
The city paid for that.
Yeah.
Big time.
So, but yeah, it's like, our mistakes usually are not setting fire to a house. They're a little bit smaller, hopefully.
They're hopefully a lot smaller.
Yeah, but in some, I was talking with some friends and stuff over the weekend, hanging out with some buddies. I didn't tell them what we were going to be talking about this week. I was just kind of listening, and we were sharing stories about different things, or hey, remember when, or hey, I did this. But it's something that I realized, like, everybody makes mistakes.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So everybody makes them. It's part of being human. It's something you can't avoid. But the important part that I kind of try to take note of is how we react to them and how we handle our mistakes. So I have some ideas on that, but I'm going to save that. I told you to try and think of some examples where you made mistakes so we could share.
Right.
So what do you got?
So this weekend, I'm.
You got a recent mistake.
I do. This weekend I made a recent mistake. So I'm having some work done here at the house, and
Breast implants.
yeah, home surgery.
They are lopsided, guys.
Well,
It is not good.
yeah, I was trying to go for that Terry Crews look, and I ended up with the Debbie Does Dallas look.
You got Terry Crews on one side and Dolly Parton on the other.
Well, shit happens.
All right, what was your mistake? Your real one.
So the real mistake is I'm having some work done here at the house, or I will be having some work done here at the house, and I'm having some driveway work done, and the contractor that I'm working with he's a good guy, and he was supposed to start on Friday, so Friday was supposed to rain. And
Right.
he's like, I can't work. It's supposed to rain. I won't be able to dig. I'm like, all right, cool, fine. He's like, I'll be there Friday. I'll be there on Saturday. Tomorrow morning, we'll be there. Have the crew there. We'll start at 9 o'clock. Great. So I wake up early every weekend, 6 o'clock, 6:30. My ass is out of bed, and I'm downstairs doing whatever. So 9
Good
o'clock
for you.
I just wake up. I can't.
Yeah.
I hate it. So up, 9 o'clock rolls around. I go outside, get the cars out of the garage, it's no big deal for me to move cars. That's like move cars. Move the cars out of the garage. Well, we have a dance recital that we have to go to for the girls at 11:30. 9:30 rolls around. No contractor. 10 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, well, maybe he's running behind. 11:30 rolls around, or 10:30 rolls around. I shoot him a message on Facebook. Yo, what's your ETA? We got to head out at 11:30. Won't be back till around 7.
Right.
What's the word? I hear nothing. We leave.
Yeah, you had to.
Had to go. So I leave the cars parked outside, shut the house up, and we head out. About 5:30, I call him. So in the meantime, through all of that, I'm checking the cameras, doing everything, no movement at the house, so I know no one's been here.
Right.
I call him up. Hey, you been out to the house? No. What's up? You said you were going out to the house. No, I didn't. Yeah, you most certainly did. You told me yesterday. You're going to be out at the house, 9 a.m. with a crew, start digging. We're going to get this framed up so we can start pouring on Monday, Tuesday. Man, I'm sorry. I just, I don't want to sound like a dick, but you told me this. You're not there. What's going on? Like, we're not going to do this. What's up? Because I'm not going to pay you for not showing up. I got some things going on family-wise, and then, my son had this. He had to have heart surgery. He's 23, blah, 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 blah. Gives me this whole thing. And I'm like, now I feel like a dick because he's having some family issues.
Well, but you didn't know that.
And I didn't know that.
Right.
But, so, mistake on my part. One, it's an assumption.
It's not an assumption if he told you that.
No, but it's more of me.
Because heart surgery doesn't just happen.
No, it doesn't just well, in this case, it kind of did.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you the whole backstory on everything.
We don't need it.
And everybody doesn't need it. It just needs to be, he's a young kid. It happened.
Okay.
And I'm leaving out some details
That's fine. Move on.
of what was said. So, and he's like, I'll be there Monday, man. I feel bad. I'm like, you know what? Family comes first. Get that taken care of. Then come out. Well, we'll work around that. Like, it's not imperative that this gets done. It's imperative that your son heals and gets, taken care of. So that's one of, mistake on my part for kind of flying off the handle. And my flying off the handle is kind of going, like, letting loose. Like, I'm standing in a parking lot and people are looking at me. So I'm giving you, like, the mild version of me on the phone kind of yelling at this guy for not showing up when, because I'm very much if you tell me you're going to be somewhere, and this goes back to our time management.
Right.
You tell me you're going to be somewhere.
Be there.
Be there at the time you said you're going to be there. Mm-hmm. And if you can't make it, call or text. This isn't the 80s.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. And this is one of the things I told him. Like, you pick up the phone, call or text. You have one. You have multiple phones. Very simple. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I should have called, but I got this going on, got busy, forgot, had to deal with
whatever.
I get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
could have communicated.
It's easy to communicate. I communicated with you through one of the 2 channels or 3 channels that we've been communicating: phone, text, and Facebook. You could have reciprocated and texted back. So, mistake was going off the handle. The fix was changing my attitude.
Yeah,
and
rescheduling.
Well, we rescheduled for Monday. He's like, I'll be out Monday. He's supposed to be out sometime today. But
yeah,
get your family.
I almost parked in your garage.
That would have been fine.
He's just dropping off frame. I'm just driving over it when I leave.
He's dropping off some equipment. But get your family taken care of, and then we'll get this taken care of.
Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously, once you knew the circumstances,
yeah, things change.
Obviously.
So, and then I have short-term memory issues, so there's a lot of things that I can't remember. I can tell you where other people have made mistakes and how it's affected me.
Yeah.
In a positive way, like Pizza Hut and their delivery system and how they've completely botched making beer. I'm going to pick up my beer. Making pizza.
Pizza Hut. I ordered a beer.
And
it came with cheese and pepperoni in a box.
And it wasn't
flying around like the earth.
It was awful.
Worst beer I ever drank.
But I'm one of those guys that there's like 3 levels of.
If you guys want to hear a good example of a mistake that was made that affected Martelle, made by somebody else, go back to our earlier episode called Lowe's Blows and Steal Our Shows. And you can hear about the debacle of Martelle and his deck and ordering things through Lowe's.
But yeah.
They made several mistakes.
We're not
going to go over it here because we did it, but go back and listen to that one. That was actually, it used to be one of our most popular. I don't know if it still is.
I think it's still our most downloaded show, but the gist is I came out in the end.
Right, ahead
on that one with.
I mean, obviously, we can all think of times we've been wronged.
Right. So what do you got?
I was driving out here going, man, I've made some mistakes. Like, I know I've made them, but I think I've made so many, they all just kind of blend together.
Well, see, and that's my problem.
So I made the mistake of texting my wife and my mother. And then in another text, that was a nice sound.
I hope that picked up.
Bloop. In another text, I texted GW, who we've had on here, and my cousin Jeff, we call Jay, because aside from my wife, them 2 probably know more about me than anybody else. Like, they're my 2 closest friends.
Right.
And I said, all right, guys, I don't need all the dumbness, but before I head out to record, what are some mistakes I've made that I can share on the air, like, openly? And I got texts back from everybody. It was real easy for them to remember mistakes. One of and I'm not going to go through all of them because there was like 10 suggestions, but I've got some from my childhood, from like my adolescence, young adult, and then into my professional career even. And as a kid, one of the ones my mom said, and I don't know how old I was, but I invited 2 of my childhood friends. They were brothers. My family was close to their family. Invited them in front of their mom to go to a Clippers game, insinuating that my parents would pay for them. And we did not have money then. Like, we don't have money now, but then it was like Spam and eggs was just dinner. I didn't know that was cheap food. Peanut butter and jelly for dinner? Sure.
Yeah.
And the punishment was that when the Clippers game went around, whoever went, I didn't get a go at all. Ooh. So, and then my one that I had was when I was I was just out of high school, still living with mom and dad. Dad did not like the idea of me getting a tattoo. Told him I wanted a tattoo. He said, not when you're living here. If you're living on your own, paying your own bills, you're your own man, do what you want. So I used to wear cut-off T-shirts all the time because I was cool like that. So any T-shirt I had, I'd cut the sleeves off. I'd go do, if we played at a camp or I was working some retreat or something, and you'd get a shirt for it, or working some event, I'd just cut the sleeves off. My softball jerseys, cut the sleeves off. So I was always wearing cutoffs around the house and all this. And I went and got my first tattoo on my right shoulder and started wearing shirts with sleeves on it. Nobody thought anything of it, really. I just wear a T-shirt.
Right.
And we were sitting at the dinner table one time, and Dad sat at one end of the table, I sat at the other, and then, my brother and my mom on the other sides. And we're talking, having a good time, and I had an itch on my right shoulder. So I went, up my sleeve like this to scratch it, and it showed the bottom edge of this cross tattoo I had. I didn't have these wings yet. And I didn't think about it. I'd had it for a few months at this point. And Dad was like, let me see it. And I truly didn't know what he meant. I was like, see what? He's like, you know what I'm talking about? And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, let me see the tattoo. And I was like, crap. So I showed him. There was a big discussion about, I'm 18 and I should be able to make my decisions. And, Dad's kind of like it was a complete lack of respect and judgment on my part, because I feel very much like, I was still in his house. I was still living by his rules. I wasn't paying rent, and that's all he asked of me.
Right.
But I'm 18, so I'm an adult now, which we talked about with the driving. Like, an age does not make you an adult, and you do not make great decisions just because you hit a certain number.
Right.
Some people will earlier than others. Some people hit that common sense thing we recently talked about more than others, or quicker than others. But yeah, so my mistake was not only going to get the tattoo, but I went somewhere where I didn't check the artist. I didn't check their portfolio. I went in, they tattooed me quick. They probably saw me as a young kid want a tattoo, and they scarred the whole tattoo.
Ooh.
So that whole cross on my shoulder is actually raised still to this day. And so much, it scabbed so bad because they went too deep that half the ink pulled out, and I had to go back and have them redo it, and I was dumb enough to go to the same guy. So it wasn't done, it wasn't unhealthy, like, he used clean needles and everything. But obviously, it was not, it was a mistake.
Properly.
It was. I was young, I was dumb, and so I had to deal with the consequences. Dad and I started having a few arguments, nothing bad. We never got in fist fights or anything, although I went to one time. I thought I was going to go out and hit him, and I got out there and couldn't do it. More of a respect thing than a fear, because I think I was too stupid to be scared, even though my dad probably would have crushed me.
Yeah, that was a discussion my dad always had to me, not with me.
Yeah.
You ever think you're man enough?
Yeah,
We'll go out back, and I'll blow your kneecaps out.
Take a shot.
It was him always talking to me, not with me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then I had one that. So the next one after that I want to tell. So these are all kind of going in order in my life. I made a lot in high school too. Don't get me wrong. We don't have time for me to go over every mistake I've made, that even the ones I can remember. But Beth and I got married, and we had everything set up. The wedding pretty much, like, everything's paid for. Well, right before the wedding, I pretty much blew through an entire paycheck and a half or so. And we were both working at the time, but neither of us were making a ton of money. I was working at a warehouse. And I went out with a bunch of buddies the weekend before our wedding and pretty much blew all our money. And then we got married on a Thursday. And that Friday, we went down to Gatlinburg for our honeymoon. We went down to the mountains, trolled around Gatlinburg, did some dinner stuff. And this was back when it was kind of hard. We didn't have smartphones to check our account necessarily, right? Well, by the end of the week, my card got declined.
Ooh.
So we're down in Gatlinburg. We got a lot of money for the reception. That's what paid for all of our stuff at Gatlinburg, basically. because I drained our account. And we get down there. We have a great time. Like the day or two before we're set to come home, we have no money. We have no gas. We have no way to get money. I can't. So we call my brother. He goes, picks up my check from work because I didn't have the direct deposit back then. Takes it and deposits it. We had a comforter somebody bought us from Walmart. That was like $100-something comforter. We returned that, got cash, I believe, because we had a receipt, and used that to get home.
Wow.
And I totally forgot about that until I was on the way out here. And I hit a stop sign down here when I got to the end of Marcy before I turned on to come towards your road. I saw that text. I was like, oh, yeah, that was dumb. So obviously our honeymoon ended. I mean, we didn't really fight about it, but she obviously was not happy with my partying the weekend before the wedding and spending copious amounts of money that I had no business spending.
Well, see, you shouldn't have spent any money while you were down there. It should have been everybody else spending money on you.
No, I spent all our money hanging out with my friends the weekend before the wedding.
For a bachelor party, right?
No.
Oh, just hanging out.
This was just hanging out. The bachelor party was like 2 weeks before, so it might have been, bachelor party might have been one of it, but I went like all weekend and spent a butt ton of my own money. Buying crap, because I used to not even track my funds. If I saw something I wanted, I'd buy it. Hey, new helmet for my four-wheeler? Buy it.
Dummy.
Who cares? It's $180. You know,
That's
and I'm making
huge mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I've made so many mistakes with my personal finances and then hers when we got together that we're still paying for it. We're way better than we were.
Right.
But it took a long time to get to where we're at now because of the mistakes I made financially. And then I told you how we handled that. I kind of had to eat some humble pie and say, yeah, I screwed up and find a way home. And we got home, and then I got another paycheck.
Moved down there.
We
just stayed there.
The worst
got
part was
job.
the car we drove down was my mom's. It wasn't even our car. And then one of my professional faux pas. I was still young. We were just married, and I left the warehouse work for another warehouse right after we got married. That lasted a year, and I hated it. And they screwed me over, saying I was on third shift. It started affecting everything else I did. And then they were like, you'll move to first shift next. Well, I didn't. And then after 3 or 4 people went to first shift that came in after me, I just quit. I didn't have anything lined up, just quit. So a month and a half goes by. I've got no money coming in. We move back in with mom and dad until we can get settled in. And I found a job. So I meet this guy at a hotel in Lancaster in one of the conference rooms, whatever. Mm-hmm. Interview goes well, get hired, and I go get some schooling on them and some testing and become a licensed insurance agent. So you can make money in the insurance industry. Well, what I was selling, the company I was working for, was supplemental insurance like Aflac.
Yeah.
But there were no commercials. There was no big. It was cheaper because they didn't pay all the advertising. So I thought it was a good deal. And you can edit that if you want. My throat's real dry.
Glug, 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 glug.
So, yeah, I started working for this insurance company. They fly me to Chicago. I drive to Cincy. They pay for the gas, put me up in a hotel, go through schooling there for, I think it was like a week there. And then I had to do testing and stuff. And then they flew me to Chicago for 2 weeks. I was one of the stars of the class. We got to meet people who worked there in Chicago. And this one guy works in the high-rise buildings. He spent a whole year in one building in Chicago. Just meeting with people, getting in different floors, different parts of this business. And I can't remember. I wanted to say he made, where he was at in his career, I wanted to say he was making like $7,000 a month in residuals. So just off of what he'd done in the past at that building, he's making $7,000 a month before he even gets out of bed. No new sales or anything. So I got all amped up thinking I'm going to make bank. Well, the problem was, my region was southeastern Ohio, so I'm trying to sell supplemental insurance to places like Ironton, Jackson,
can't afford
Wellston, Oak Hill. These are people that can't afford to keep their lights on sometimes.
Right.
So I would drive my lifted Jeep all the way down to southeastern Ohio every day Right. No policies. Collect a few premiums, which you got paid a percentage for, and then drive home. And for 3 months, I brought in. Dang. In 3 months, I might have brought in $500. And that wasn't going to get us our own place again. That wasn't going to get us back on our feet. So, yeah, that whole buying into that, trying to make that sustainable and get hands up about it, I probably should have never taken that job.
Right.
Knowing what I know now, obviously, if I saw that, I wouldn't go there. But, yeah. The good news is the way I got out of that, I applied for a bank my cousin worked at for a different branch, and because they consider that sales experience, I got to be a personal banker rather than a teller, so I got paid a little more. So
it worked out for you.
It did. It worked out in the end. Man, I don't know what's going on.
You're having some issues.
You're going to have to edit like half this.
I ain't editing any of this. This is all good.
The water's not working.
I'll get you some lithium.
Okay. Uranium. Speaking of southeastern Ohio, get some uranium from the elementary school. All right, so I have a few from my younger days that are a little more humorous mistakes.
All right.
That I got in trouble for.
Good, because I don't have any, because I don't make mistakes.
Right.
That's the problem. My brain just doesn't remember mistakes.
Well, that's the hard thing, too, is I was sitting there going, I know I've made mistakes, but I'm drawing blanks on them. And even when one pops in my head, it leaves just as quick. It's something that, I don't know, maybe that's a mechanism our brains have.
Well, and I think that's part of it. Like, I know I've made mistakes. They're just not noteworthy.
Yeah.
Like, I know, so...
I mean, some of my mistakes are noteworthy. I just don't want to share them. They're funny, but I don't want everybody to know what I did.
Telling a story about, like, building this house. Building this house, I consider a mistake.
But that don't make for a funny story.
But it doesn't make for a funny story. It doesn't make for a good show. Telling the Pizza Hut story isn't funny. It's not like, oh, hey, I got like 13 free pizzas and a shitload of breadsticks. It's not funny. All
right. Well, I'm going to run through 4 that I've done that were embarrassing or funny in my eyes anyways, real quick. And then we'll get into how we handle mistakes, how we should.
Like, I've never done anything where I ended up naked in a corner.
So, all right. Well, I'm about to tell a story like that.
Okay.
First one, though, when I was younger, I took guitar lessons from 6 to 12, and we had recitals every year. Well, I went to do a recital, and I was one of the, like, advanced guitar players, which meant nothing looking back at the tapes now. And there was one year in particular that I played my guitar teacher's 40th anniversary American-made Stratocaster.
Okay.
Beautiful guitar. He played an acoustic guitar and strummed while I played the lead notes to Independence Day by Martina McBride. That was the song at about 9 or 10 years old probably that I played. I get done. The crowd claps because you have to, because if not, you're a jerk because that's somebody's kid up there.
Right.
I bow like we're instructed to, and I walk off the stage. Nothing funny about that.
Not yet.
What had happened was the cable I used is one of those, like, springy cables.
What do you mean cable?
The cable plugged into the amp from the guitar.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, wound, so it can kind of stretch and then contract. I take my bow and walk off stage without unplugging it. So I'm carrying the guitar that the cable's plugged into, other end's into the amp. I get almost off stage, and I hear, boom, 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 boom. Cable pulls out, but before it comes completely out of the jack, topples the amp, hits the mic that's sitting in front of the amp, makes this huge racket. The cable, being springy, coils back as I turn around, smacks me in the back of the calf, and I go down. Didn't cry or nothing, but I'm pretty sure I let out a wincing pain, and I get up, have to unplug the guitar, take the cable back, help set stuff up. The whole time, like, everybody's watching me. I'm the only one on stage, me and my guitar instructor. How I handled that was I just kind of felt like an idiot for the rest of the day.
For not unplugging your guitar before you left the stage?
Yeah. A couple that were a little more. One of them has a permanent mark on a college campus here locally.
Ruh-roh.
And the same week happened. I was borrowing my dad's truck at the time. It was a 96 Ford. And it was a nice truck. He kept real good care of it, real clean, no rust. And I was using it on, it's now Ohio Christian University. I used to help with a youth camp on their campus. And we need to get sound equipment from the chapel at the front of the campus to the camp center in the back. Well, it was raining, so I'm like, load in the truck, we'll rush it back, unload. So it just started like sprinkling. Well, we get in the truck. By the time we get it loaded and drive to the camp center, it's like it lets loose. So it's starting to pour, so guys are coming out, grabbing gear as quick as they can, running inside. Well, my buddy, who was my youth pastor at the time, Rob, opens the front door, grabs a small soundboard, and bolts. Door's still open, pouring down rain. I pulled like up to a part of the building, so I have to back up. I'm like, Rob, the door. Well, he's gone. I mean, it's torrential downpour. He's got this piece of expensive equipment. So I throw it in reverse and punch it and look back over my shoulder, over my right shoulder. And next thing I know, crunch. And that door that was open hit one of those little yellow poles I couldn't see. And it was now hugging the front fender of Dad's mint condition truck that he had kept nice for a few years. And I'm like, oh man, well, Rob saw it and comes back out. We were able to force it closed, but you couldn't get it back open. And I had to explain to Dad what happened. And the result of that was I had to pay for the repairs, I believe.
Whoopsies.
So that was a mistake I made. I think it was that same week. I did so many camps, it's hard to remember, but same campus, maybe a different year youth camp. We had golf carts we could use. Had to be because I was 15. So this was before the door incident. So at OCU, there's this sidewalk that went from the campus center in the front, or in the back, to the chapel in the front. There's one long sidewalk, and about halfway up, there's this giant, it split and went around either side of a flower pot that was probably, when I say pot, it was like 4 feet wide by about 8 or 10 feet long, had all this flower bed in it, a giant flagpole, a light on the flag. It's a big...
We'll call that a planter.
Okay, planter. That's probably a more correct term than flower pot. I'm not a gardener. I'm not a biologist. So, vase. So, to get around the sidewalk with the golf cart, you had to kind of get one side of the wheels off the sidewalk.
Right.
If you're on a 4-wheel, if you're on 3-wheel, just one rear wheel. But if you're good enough, you could cut it just close enough to keep them on the sidewalk. Well, we were carrying equipment from the chapel to the campus center. Whoever was riding shoddy in this golf cart as I'm driving was holding my base in the case, next to me. So I couldn't really see to the right of me. So we're coming up. I'm like, kids are walking down the sidewalk. We're yelling no brakes, and they jump out of the way. And it was a joke we used to have. So we're flying this thing full charge. And instead of going right around the flower pot, I decided to go left for whatever reason. Maybe nobody's staying on that side. And I cut it too close, and I clip the front corner of that flower vase made of 2x6s. And I rip like 3 of those boards off, and all the soil and stuff pours out. Like it was like quicksand. Pours out of there. So we do the, oh, fudge kind of moment from the Christmas story. I'm not sure what I said. I'm pretty sure I didn't cuss around all the kids. But I was only 15, so I was probably home for a junior high camp or something. I don't know. But I ripped that off, so we get back. Well, then the guy that's running the camp, his name was Chad. He called everybody in, one of the locker rooms in the campus center, all the staff. And he drives his golf cart up, throws open the door that, we all went in from the gym side. He came in the door from the outside, and he just throws the door open. He's like, we can't be having 15-year-old kids driving these golf carts. This is getting out of hand. Because we used to play golf cart tag. We rolled these things. We ran them into a semi-truck.
Sounds like a golf outing.
Yeah. So he's like, we can't be they're tearing up this campus. That's going to cost us, blah, 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 blah. And he gets so mad that he jumps in the golf cart, throws in reverse, punches it, and doesn't realize that where he threw open the door is right behind him, and he rips the door off the hinges. And we immediately all lost it. And he just looked at us. He's like, all right, now we're all in trouble. And he just drove off. But to this day, they totally redid that. They took out the flower vase. And to this day, the campus now has a brand new sidewalk that just goes straight from one end to the other with no split in the middle, nowhere to sit around it.
No decorations.
Yeah, so I totally destroyed that. Probably my last one I'll give you real quick. That's kind of funny. It depending on who you ask. I'm a big Ohio State football fan.
No.
Most people know that about me. And one year for the Ohio State-Michigan game, I had to work as a banker in the morning. So I had to work until noon. Well, kickoff was noon. So if you work at a bank, you got to close, make sure everybody gets out of there. You got to leave together. You're there till about 12:30. Right. So I was working in Grove City, and my buddy was throwing a party. He lived just south of Grove City, off of 104. And at the time, I used to go to work. I'd wear a T-shirt and gym shorts under my dress pants and my button-up.
Yeah.
Just something I did. And I know somebody will call me out on this, so I will say that if I was wearing gym shorts, I was typically free-balling in it. So I wasn't wearing underwear because I know somebody like, you wore them as underwear. That's why. So what happened was we go to the buddy's house. We've known each other for years. He was in one of the bands with me. We've stayed all night in hotels together. Him and everybody else there is like my cousins, my uncle, a group of friends that we've taken trips together. So I bring my Ohio State jersey and some shorts, like cargo shorts or whatever. Get there. I'm so amped about the game. I run up in front of you had a big sectional that kind of cut off the kitchen from the living room. Run up kind of off to the side of that. Throw my work shirt off. Throw my jersey on. Rip my pants off. And I got my gym shorts there, right? And I hear a shriek. And somebody goes running into the bathroom, which is like 10 feet away. Like the half bathroom slams the door. I didn't take note of who all was at the party. And one of the people at the party was my good buddy Otero, who he was in this band with us, but he was kind of just joined, and his wife hadn't really got to know us. And she was about right behind me when I dropped trowel. So she jumps up, screams, runs to the bathroom, and I'm sitting there like, what? I got gym shorts on. It's fine. And everybody else is like, dude, you should not have, like, you could have went in the bathroom to change, So to this day, I get crap for that one.
That's good.
And I joke about it. Thankfully, her name's Leslie. Thankfully, I think she forgave me. She talks to me.
That does.
She lets her kids talk to me. So, but yeah, that was what I probably this day and age I probably would handle that differently.
Right.
Like I wanted to watch the game. To me, it was gym shorts. To a buddy's wife that has only met me once before, I think, and that was at a gig. Probably shouldn't just rip my pants off in front of her. But anyway, yeah, we could go on and on about mistakes if we could remember them, probably. And I know if my friends and family listen to this, I'm going to get all kinds of texts.
I've got one. Actually, I wrote down two, but I got one.
Okay.
So it is the last time that I actually went drinking with my dad before he passed away. It was a great time, and Liz hates every moment of it, which makes it glorious. Love you, baby. So we were at the local bar. Liz was there with us, but me and my dad. So we're
local here in Lancaster?
No, local to Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Where he lived. And we're there, and it was absolutely a mistake on my part. We're there, and we're drinking and whatever. My dad just gets shit-face wasted. He's sitting at the bar and
just schmammered.
Falling off the bar stool.
Oh, jeez.
It's like hammer wasted. He's drinking like redhead.
What you guys don't know is Martelle was 12 at the time.
Right. So, and I was his designated, I wasn't his designated driver. I was
because you were drinking too.
I was his designated walker. Because we only lived a block away.
Put him in a little red wagon. Anyway.
Drag him home. So he's drinking like Bud Lights and redheaded. Hold on.
Okay.
Redheaded sluts.
Oh, okay.
Jaeger bombs.
So he's doing some shots.
He's doing.
I was like, it takes a lot to get that drunk off Bud Lights.
He's doing shots. He's doing this. He's doing everything that you can think of. He's just partying it up. And at one point, I wasn't trashed yet. But someone had ordered him a pitcher of redheaded sluts, which are fucking disgusting. Look.
What's in that for those that don't know?
Yeah, I think it's like Jaeger and it's something else. I don't know, but it tastes like black licorice and they're gross. I end up drinking the entire pitcher of redheaded sluts, which is just a shaker of redheaded sluts.
So a redheaded slut is a cocktail made of Jägermeister.
Yep.
Peach-flavored schnapps. And cranberry juice.
There you go. Disgusting.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
It's awful. So someone had ordered him another, like a pitcher of that, and I'm like, no more. He's done. Liz is like, we're leaving. We're done. And this is 1:30 in the morning, so last call is coming up in like 10 minutes anyway. So we leave I just downed this pitcher of redheaded sluts.
But you're walking.
And I'm walking.
You're fine.
At this point, as we're walking out the door, I'm starting to feel it. I walked past this one girl I went to high school with. I looked at her, and she had a really big set of boobs. And I just looked at her. I'm like, you remember that time when you were standing at the pool and boobs. And then Liz is like, let's go. So we walk out the door, and she's like, blah, 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 yelling at me for drinking. My dad's just happy as can be. She walks on. He doesn't care. Him and I just walk home arm in arm. We walk down the alley. We walk through our backyard into the house. And I don't remember anything from that point. Goodness. The next thing I know, Liz is throwing me out the front door in my underwear, and I'm throwing up. And she locks the door. So I'm standing outside in my boxers. My dad lived on the main strip of Toronto.
You're just puking on Main Street.
So I'm
small town USA.
Small town USA, throwing up on the front stoop in my dad's house, just and like bang, like let me in. She's like, no, stay outside. You're throwing up. I'm pissed. Like, let me in. My dad passed out.
Yeah.
Next morning, I'm hungover. Dad's like, hey, boy, what you doing? I'm like, oh, don't. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, how are you? No, he's like, I'm fine. But I'm just like, oh, just shut up. So, big mistake. Just hammering down the...
that's the time you learn that you cannot handle cranberry juice.
That's the time I don't like redheaded sluts. Those ginger bitches.
So...
Awful.
Oh, man.
Awful.
Now we're getting back to our
right.
typical. So here we go. So we got 3 steps.
So how can we correct our problems?
Here's what we should do when we make a mistake, right? Whether we do it or not. Well, so step 1, the first thing you got to do is admit it, right? So in the mistake I made where I broke Dad's truck, there's no not admitting that because nobody's going to take the rap for that. The flower pot thing,
right?
The vase.
I always admit when I make a mistake, even at work.
And the funny thing is, like, most people don't because they're afraid of the repercussions,
right?
And if you have common sense, you've learned that it's better just to own it than to lie about it.
If you think about what we said about what common sense is when we talked to Dr. Ohm and Aaron and Drew, is common sense is the obvious.
Right.
People don't understand what the obvious is.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that stems from, maybe from childhood. You're afraid of getting in trouble.
Right.
So you try to cover up your mistake. So step 1, own it. Admit it. Say, you know what? That's my fault. I did do that, or I did say that, or whatever it is. Step 2, what do you think step 2 should be?
Correct it.
Step 2 is to apologize to anybody affected.
But
so you own it. You need to make sure that you so if I say I make a mistake and it affects you.
Right.
I need to say, you know what, that's my bad.
But what if,
in that, I'm going to apologize to you.
But what if the mistake doesn't affect anybody? There's no one to apologize to.
Skip it. Like,
or
give me an example of that. What mistake would you make that doesn't affect anybody? I mean, you can make a mistake that only affects you, I guess.
Right.
So you're not going to say, sorry, me. Like, I mean, you may be talking the voice in your head. But if it affects somebody else, so if you make a mistake that affects Liz, you wake up the next day on the front lawn in your boxers, you need to go, you know what? I went way overboard yesterday. My bad.
Oh, I was apologizing when I was standing outside.
Maybe you say that. No, you were one back in. That was not
sorry.
A heartfelt apology.
I'm sorry.
Liz, I'm with you on this one. I would have kicked him out too.
Yeah.
No, the third step, though, is where you need to correct it. Now, if you're a firefighter that burned down a house, or, well, not a firefighter, but if you or I burned down a house accidentally, that's a lot harder to correct. Well, if it's an accident, if you're at a buddy's house and I don't know, whatever. But, yeah, so you need to own it. You need to apologize for it, which I think is part owned. So maybe that's 1 and 1A.
But the correction and the apology could be the same thing.
Well, so could the admittance and the apology. But those are the 3 things. When I say 3 steps, I guess I should say these are 3 things that we need to do.
Right.
Especially as adults. So with being a father, raising a kid. My 5-year-old now, he's really starting to become his own little man. Mm-hmm. So a few weeks ago, our nephew was born. It's my wife's youngest sister's third kid. She drove up where they live outside around Canton area or whatever. So it was just Huck and I. And I had one of those foraging events. So Mom and Dad kept Huck for a few hours. I went and foraged, picked him up, and got home. Well, after using a cold forage, I needed to shower. So I get him set up. He's got his snack. He's playing with this giant fire truck Paw Patrol thing. He's got a movie on the main TV, you know. Mm-hmm. And I get in the shower, get out. I walk from the bathroom to the bedroom, which for us is literally they're next to each other, with a towel on. He's not paying attention. I go to the bedroom, put on some gym shorts. And I come out, and Huck turns around and looks at me and looks back at TV and then like snaps around. And he's like, whoa. He gives me this like look, and I'm like, what? And he goes, your privates aren't covered. And I look down, I was like, they most certainly are. And he goes, not these ones, pointing to his chest. And so I'm sitting there, and I kind of laughed. I was like, shut up. Just watch your movie. Like, I can walk around my house with my shirt on. I know it's not, you know, I'm a big grizzly beast, but it's my house. Shut up. So just that story and sharing that with some friends, I'm sitting here going, man, like, he's really starting to pick up on things. So what I've done is try to, when I make a mistake towards him or towards his mother, say, you know what, I was wrong. I'm sorry. And then I try to do whatever I can to correct whatever it is. So if I say something to him or I snap at him over something silly that he was right about, even though he's 5, if I know I was in the wrong, I don't sit there and do the, well, I'm right because I'm the adult. If I make a mistake, I go, you know what, buddy? My bad. I'm sorry. And then sometimes he'll either say it or I'll say, do you forgive me? And he'll be like, I forgive you. What I've done with him, it's really funny because he went off on Beth one day. And we try to let if somebody starts disciplining the kid, we let that parent discipline him. That's their discussion.
Right.
Well, she was disciplined, and he started getting like nasty with her for a 5-year-old. And I finally went, okay, buddy, come over here. And he walks over my chair, and he's all mad. He's like, well, I didn't want that. I said, nah. And I said, no buts, just listen. I said, you're 5 now, so you're going to start making choices. I'm going to give you 2 options. You pick which one, and then you deal with the consequences of that. Do you understand? He kind of gave me this look, said, I understand. I said, okay, you're not to talk to your mother that way. So I pointed out that he made a mistake. Here's your 2 options. You can check your attitude, or I can adjust it for you by spanking you. And he just kind of looked at me quizzically. I said, now you make a choice. Do you want to check your attitude, or do you need me to adjust it for you by spanking you? And he goes, I'll check my attitude. And ever since then, anytime he does something, and I have to go, hey, and he'll look at me and he'll say, do you want to check it, or do you need to adjust it? He goes, I'll check my attitude. But I'm realizing that I need to, when I make mistakes, I need to own them in front of my kids.
Right.
So I've got to do this 3-part process, make sure that I own it, I apologize for it, and definitely make sure I do whatever I can to correct it. Sometimes correcting it is just the apology.
Right.
It's the admittance. Sometimes the correcting it is replacing what you broke, giving back what you stole, whether that's time or material or money, or whatever. So whatever the case is, but when we make mistakes, here's the first thing. I respect somebody so much that screws up and says, I screwed up. I have huge respect for any man or woman that can look at me and say, my bad. I get to discussions and debates a lot of times with people, and half of them get real angry and the other half are really cool. GW is a good example. He's a guy him and I will go back and forth on stuff that we disagree with all the time. We don't yell at each other. We don't fight, but we try to explain and understand each other's side. Or we'll question, okay, you say that, well, what about this? And he's always been one to go, if he's proven wrong, he goes, you know what, my bad. That's my mistake. You're right. I didn't remember it that way, or I didn't know that happened, or whatever. Dad's the same way. Dad always taught me to be humble and admit what you don't know.
I need to find people
and admit
like
when you're
that.
wrong.
Everybody I argue with, or when I point out the facts that it's all, no, that's not no. Like, no,
well, just stop having discussions like that with those people.
I usually do. I'm in the process of doing that.
That's your mistake, assuming that people own up to their mistakes.
Oh, well, that's why I'm on a big Facebook unfollow, unfriend, and block again.
Yeah, so I've been trying lately online. While talking to people to scale back, because I get on there and mess with people more than I should.
Right.
And a lot of people take it very serious sometimes. And like especially people I don't know. So a buddy of mine this weekend went out to an air show, and there's one of the old like B-52 bombers or something taking off. And he's like, man, how cool is that? It's a piece of American history and blah, 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 or whatever. And this older lady that I don't even know at all, it was the first and only comment, and said, man, I love those old planes, the sound of the engines, but then again, they're not dropping bombs overhead, you know, which you worried about the old war and stuff. You'd hear a swarm of bombers coming from way off. Like, you knew crap was about to hit you. And we always read about that or whatever. But she posted that, and I just put, don't knock it till you try it.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there. I don't think about it, but because my friend knows me. And she replied actually with a really funny reply. But she was like, yeah, you know, and anyway. So a lot of the times I make these mistakes online. I'm trying to scale back even making them, because I do it to mess with people. I do it out of nothing but jest. And I've really tried to scale back the way I interact on there, because a lot of people, it's my mistake for putting it out there knowing that 9 times out of 10, it's pushing the envelope.
Right. See, I don't talk to anybody online unless I know them. Like, I typically don't respond to anybody unless I know who they are. Or if they're asking a question about something like that I can help them with.
Yeah.
But as far as like, I don't waste my time trolling people or messing with people online. And I
don't consider it a waste of time so much as an investment.
I don't even see it as
because I am putting it out there to get me laughs in the future. Because I'm investing in me, in my happiness.
And it's one of those things that you're seeing it as an investment in your time, and it drives me up a wall when someone does, even when they do it to my shit.
I only do it to yours every so often because we have to do this and have to deal with you.
I know.
But you're so much fun to pick on. Because every time you post something, I put one sentence and you're like, I'm like, shut up, Randy.
Shut up. But it's one of those things that just, like my good morning stuff.
Yeah.
Like the whole, which one was it? It's the one that Sean posted on. And it just went completely over his head about criticism.
Well, it's easy to go over his head. He's like 4 feet tall.
I know. And things were spelled wrong on purpose because it was a criticism post.
Yeah.
And it was and he just criticized the whole thing. And I'm like, you completely lost it.
Yeah. I think that was the point.
The whole point of it was. So, and I don't like Sean anyway. I think I was pretty clear about that.
Oh, man. Thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe.
That's my mistake for being friends with him on Facebook.
All right. So, when you make a mistake, just own it.
Just own the mistake. Deal with it.
Send us some of your funny mistakes you made.
This show is kind of somber. It wasn't a comedy show as much as it is a life investment show.
Yeah.
I like that. Life investment.
Ooh, that sounds fancy.
Doesn't it sound fancy? I'm going to hashtag that.
I'm going to get business cards that say life investment coordinator. Life investment coach. That's what I do for a living here.
Life investor.
For a living here where I don't make any money. I'm a life investment
coach.
And motivational speaker.
Ooh, there you go.
Give me my own business cards.
There you go. I like that. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. Check us out on the 3 majors of social media: Instagram, Facebook, and the Twitters.
Google, Tweetstagrams.
There you go. Randy will not be at the Funny Bone ever. Just wanted to throw that out there on December 4th of 2024.
That's because I don't like people.
That's right. Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Go full Burt Kreischer and just take my shirt off and clear the room out and be like, finally, I can just sit in peace.
Check out Rhinegeist, this Cobbstopper. It's a really good nitro if you're looking for something a little different. Definitely check out 2-Bitch Bourbon. I
want to give a shout out to Jimmy for his text about our last episode. or 2 episodes ago. My buddy Turtle also texted me and gave us some feedback, but he's too computer illiterate to do it online.
And check out the Kamiwaza podcast.
Yeah.
Aaron
you heard
Drew.
them last week, which we recorded a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's it. I'm Martelle. He's Randy. We're out.
Peace.
Pinkies up. Mistakes. Don't make them.
Don't do the mistakes.